Welcome back, everyone. Hope you're doing well. Oh yeah. Today we're talking about fishing gear for the beginner. This will be series 1. I don't know how many parts we're gonna do, but today it's gonna be about the fishing reel, and we're gonna specifically talk about pan fishing. That's one of my favorite things to do. So today we'll discuss that. The things that we'll discuss today will be based upon my personal experiences and obviously my opinion. So some people will agree, some people may not. You guys can take what I give you and apply it if you like, or you can try things and experiment your own way. First of all, we'll talk about the different types of fishing reels that most people would use for pan fishing. This would be considered a traditional style spinning reel. This would be your most common push button reel, or some people may call it a spin casting reel or a button reel. Typically, this is for the majority of your beginners. It's very simple to use. You press the button, you bring it back, you release the button as you swing forward, and obviously your line will cast at that point. Next on the list would be a bait caster. Most people use bait casters for larger game, such as bass, walleye, striper, catfish. But modern technology has dictated smaller reels that can cast lighter lines, and a lot of people end up using shallow spools on them, and they create what's called a BFS, or bait finesse style setup, designed for, ultra lightweight line on ultralight rods that will cast much smaller lures and jigs, things of that sort, so that they can easily target panfish and, creek fish, smaller bass, things of that nature. As most of you may already know, your bait caster will be one of your more difficult reels to learn with from the beginning. So most beginners probably would not use a bait caster. If you don't get the settings proper, you're subject to backlash, or as most people call, bird nesting, which can be a bit of a pain in the butt. As far as your spinning reel is concerned, or your open face reel, it's a simple design, and you have your drag system up top. You flip your bell, you cast out, the line comes off, you close the bell as you reel in, and it's fairly simple for most people to grasp the concept. You get obviously a better drag system over your traditional spin casting reel such as this, which makes it a little more efficient. Also, they are starting to make them more lightweight, easier to carry, more fun to use, in my opinion, obviously. Here's another spinning reel that I like to use for small pan fish. So now we can discuss reel size. Typically for me, when I'm fishing for smaller panfish, I prefer a smaller reel. 25 to 30 series if you're dealing with something like a fluger. This is a 30 series, or size 30 reel, excuse me. Nice and compact size, not very heavy, which is great for me because I fish a lot of creeks, and sometimes I just want to take one small lightweight setup with me to wade in the creek with. This Daiwa is a size 1000 or 1000 series. Typically Daiwa does it as a 1000, 2000, maybe a 2500 on up. So the reel gradually gets larger in size based upon that number. 1000 series is typically the smallest, other than maybe something for ice fishing, that most manufacturers make. So 1000 series on a 5'6" rod was just about perfect for me for pan fishing. I have this reel paired with a Bass Pro Shops 5.5 foot ultralight rod with a fast action. So basically that gives it a good action where it's not too whippy or like a wet noodle. Most of your action happens here in the tip section, and for me that is more ideal when I'm fishing for the panfish. The 30 series that I showed you guys earlier is more ideal if I'm fishing a little bit of a larger riverway or somewhere where I expect to get into some larger bass. The reel, I can spool it up with a little heavier line and have more capacity on it. As far as the push button reel, typically they're most of the time just pretty bulky, pretty large, easy to use, and you can put a lot of line on them. Most of them come from the factory lined up pretty much already with 8-pound, maybe even 10-pound line. So that brings up the topic of what size line is best for the beginner. Well, that's a matter of choice. However, my recommendation is probably nothing less than about a 6-pound line. Typically when you get into the smaller lines, your 2-pound or your 4-pound line, you are susceptible to things such as wind knots or just getting tangled around your rod tip. Some people end up putting too much line on the reel, and as the line comes off the reel, it just makes a big mess. Most of the time when you buy a 6-pound or 8-pound test line, you don't have as many problems from those type of situations. Also, you want to buy not just the cheapest line you can find, but you know, the best one your money can afford. Basically, that gives you lines that may be able to keep the diameter down with the same test poundage or less memory in the line, because all monofilaments have a certain amount of memory. And once that line is on a reel in a coil and you pull it off, it has memory, so those coils still want to remain. When you buy some of your more premium lines, you get away from them having as much memory. They're just made to a higher standard. More quality control is put into the process, which is a good thing. So, you know, buy the best line your money can afford and don't look back. The next topic is, what reel or rod should you really get? It's all about your personal preference. You may walk into your local store and you may see one that's just the right color that you like, or you may pick one up and it just feels just right. So go with your instincts. One thing I will say, in the fishing world, generally speaking, you get what you pay for. So if you go in there and you spend 10 or 15 bucks, which won't get you very far, maybe at a flea market, but you know, you get what you pay for. So if it's a matter of buying one today for, you know, 50 bucks, or saving your money for a couple weeks and buying one for 70 or 80 bucks, then save for a couple weeks and buy a better setup, one that will last you longer, one that will be a better fit for you in the long run. That's my advice. Well, this video is probably long enough. I want to keep it short and simple. Next time we'll talk about different lures and baits and the essentials to get you out on the water. So stay tuned for that next video. That'll be part 2 of the series. Thanks guys, I'll see you next time.